Hey, Jason Rice here with Lot Party, and again, the theme of the show is, if you ever worked at a dealership on the physical lot, you know what a lot party is, getting everybody together to stir up that lot, maybe move things around or clean that lot up. Well, this lot party show is all about what we could do on the virtual lot and or just better inventory management as a whole. And if you can catch our previous episodes, there's been 7 so far, and they've all been great. The first one's about new car, some best practices and strategies in today's market, the internet shopper, what you can do to increase new car exposure. Second show, interviewed a professional photographer and some tips on how to do better photos, and we give you some great examples there. The third show is we talk to a small dealer in Moberly, Missouri, and some of the benefits and struggle of being a small town dealer. Fourth show, we talk to a Highline dealer, Infinity Acura store, that actually does velocity and turns that inventory, has an average day in the 20s. The fifth show, we just went over myself, no interview, but we went over the flat price strategy, how to price a car at 20 grand instead of $19,995. Huge results when you do a strategy like that. The sixth show, I interviewed Dennis McGinn from Rapid Recon. It's a software system that helps dealers turn their inventory faster on the recon side of it. Not to promote Rapid Recon, but it was there about the strategies and the cost that it takes if you slow that process down. And then the seventh interview last week, interviewed the actual service director of the large dealer group that has a 4-day turnaround time and what it takes actually on the lot to get that done. So this show, though, today, we're going and interviewing Dan Oakes from Oakes Auto in Kansas City. He's in a very competitive market. Here's an independent lot. That matter of fact, they have probably a CarMax within a mile or two from their dealership. They have large dealer groups in their market. You'll hear about that in the interview. So I hope you enjoy the show and catch out the previous episodes earlier. And at the end, we'll also give you a best practice tip. Thanks. Hey, Jason Rice here with Lot Party. I want to introduce you to Dan Oakes. He's owner of Oakes Auto, independent lot in Merriam, Kansas. And which is what, 15 minutes out of the city?
Yeah, pretty much from just south of downtown Kansas City.
So what I want to do in this show, we've independent used car lots. There's a lot of them out there. It's a struggle. I know that's tough, not being a franchise dealer with trades and parts and service type of revenue. But first, when did you start in the car business? How long have you been around?
I started in about this time of the year, about February 2010 is when I started, so about 6 years ago.
6 years ago. And where did you come from before the car business?
Totally non-related to the car business. I was in energy trading, and actually had gone up to New York City and worked for an investment bank in 08, 09, right when the economy kind of unraveled, and landed back in Kansas City and was doing the same thing, but I kind of saw the economy, and I didn't think the area I was trading in was really going to bounce back, so I was looking for something kind of different, and always liked cars, and I grew up with a couple of my father's friends had used car lots, and just decided I kind of wanted to work for myself and do something in an area I had interest in, and just kind of dove in part-time on the side and started a one-man band.
So kind of got your wholesaler's license or something and bought cars, or dealer license, and just kind
of
I
just got my dealer license. I actually operated in an office I leased in the back of another guy's lot, and just started there, bought a few cars out of the auction, started listing them, and just kind of did all the pictures and pretty much everything myself to get them listed, write the descriptions, answer all the leads, deal with customers, try to get the sales. And I mean, just it was literally a hole-in-the-wall place.
So then,
and the perception was that too, when people showed up.
Wow.
So,
but hey, you obviously now you have how many employees?
We have, I think, 13 right now.
Nice. And then how many cars are in the lot?
We keep around 150 in inventory. Retail ready out there is usually 120 to 130.
And then what of that are you selling every month then?
If we don't sell at least 100, we're pretty disappointed. And for almost a year now, we've at least hit 100 per month. We dip in December. We did dip right under that into the 90s, but generally right over 100.
Right. And so one of the struggles we talked about in my last 2 episodes has been about recon and turnaround time. I interviewed Dennis McGinn about rapid recon, how fast turnaround time. Talked to a service director on what they do to get the turnaround time good. And I would imagine that's a lot of your struggle here. I mean, why you got to have that cushion of what you're carrying versus lot
Right.
ready. What's those struggles as an independent?
Yeah, I mean, that at this point is one of our biggest struggles for sure. It's we source a lot of cars on the internet, so they're coming from outside the area.
Mm-hmm.
So we're relying on transport to get those in. Here recently, we had some that were involved up in the area, got hit with the weather and the storm. So our shipping was delayed almost 2 weeks on those before we can even touch them.
Yeah.
Due to our facility here, we don't have our own mechanic shop, so we outsource that as well.
Okay.
We do a little bit of our detailing here, but we have to outsource some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things are outsourced. We're relying on outside vendors, their time schedules, and we've grown to use a fair amount of them. But coordinating all of those things to work as efficiently as possible, and not having 90% of it done, but waiting on that last 10%, dragging another 5 days to just get that windshield or whatever put in. That's constantly a fight here, and that we're working on improving that every day.
Yeah, and if you could, you started from maybe 5-10 cars a month when you first started. I mean, how many were you selling?
Under 5. I mean, first, and then we got to around 5 to 10.
Yeah, and then when did you get in this building here to be able to host 100 cars, 100 plus, 150 plus cars?
It was about a year, just a hair over a year in. It was about 5 years ago. So I've been down here since April 2011, so about 5 years.
So with the independent dealer not being a franchise, what would you say is the biggest struggle, other than what we're just talking about with service turnaround? Is there other things that make it tough that franchise dealers might not understand?
Yeah, just your income streams as an independent. I mean, we have one income stream. It is used cars. I mean, that's it. We live and die by it, obviously.
Yeah.
Where franchise dealers got fixed ops, new cars, whole parts, and all those avenues of one might be off, but they might make it up here and kind of spread that overhead out, where it's just all right on used cars here for us. Yeah. So that's obviously one big thing. Mm-hmm. The other thing is just perception. I mean, I think if you have a franchise nameplate out there on that big bright sign out on the building, you instantly are more credible to the consumer versus just an independent lot.
Sure.
So we constantly fight that. Sourcing inventory, we don't have as many avenues. The franchises do have closed sales they can get into. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the big ones.
Now, location-wise, you're right down the street within a couple blocks almost of kind of a car row that's off the highway. I think there's Infiniti, Toyota, Hyundai. They're all right here.
Yeah.
Do you get some of that leftover traffic? Is that some of the goals? Because, do you kind of carry their stock, but in a way strategically to try to lure those people in, or is there any piggybacking that you do off them?
We do see those kind of customers. I mean, we're primarily internet driven.
Yeah.
We're search for our cars. We're using the velocity principles. We're trying to find low market day supply cars, high demand, and drive that internet traffic to just get them to come to us. And so we do find a lot of the folks that come down here or have visited those stores, but ideally we're not trying, our inventory we try to separate away from that certified pre-owned vehicle at those franchise lots. We just don't want to compete head to head with those same year and models, because even myself, if I could buy the exact same car from Lexus right over there, certified pre-owned, and it's the same car, apples for apples, I'm even going to go over there just to buy it from the franchise store and have that certified pre-owned. So that would get us in a pricing game where we have to be significantly less. So we kind of try to separate from those off lease certified pre-owned cars.
Late
That there's a
model
lot
stuff.
of them out there, right? Kind of that commodity car that they're dealing in.
Step away, but you get the 11s and 12s that they might only have one or two
Right.
of two, and you got one or two, they
Right.
can't really certify it, so it's
Yeah.
more of an even ball game.
So we kind of really watch our inventory mix with that, and then we get people gravitate, and there's a CarMax right by us too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we get a lot of people that are looking at cars there versus here, which we like. We just kind of convey our message, build our value here in what we do, and our pricing and our product, and kind of support it and go head to head with those guys.
You do a good job, I imagine, because there's a lot. I mean, not only CarMax, but Country Hills right there. They're
Right.
independent. That's pretty big. They have a couple locations. So that's a competitive market that you're in here. And so not only, obviously, you got to drive it with price and the internet, but I guess for these vendors out there, the guys like you, I'm assuming your Autotrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, things like that. What's a message maybe for these vendors that, the struggle is the independence that, it's like maybe fair or not fair from the vendor end, when the Auto Trader rep, Cars.com rep sits down and maybe you're billing and he's like, if I was this, it would be a little bit different story. Is there any of those type of advice or sympathy stories that you could share with some of those vendors that might, help?
Well, I mean, we're as far as the vendors, we always wish they were charging a little less, and there's more of them out there now than ever. That didn't even exist even 5 years ago that have kind of wedged their way in there to get our advertising dollars. So I mean,
I know it's a numbers game. It's a lot. I mean,
right.
the more rooftops I can sign up, the cheaper I get, and then the small guys tend to struggle. And it's like, hey, it's just me here. Can't you get a break? But I know, again, that's one of those biggest struggles is how much money can you spend to get that exposure when you're competing against a CarMax. It's an independent, but almost gets the benefit of a franchise, the way they market and everything, and then these other franchises.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely at a disadvantage. I mean, I'm sure CarMax has national agreements with Autotrader, Cars.com, and all those major vendors where they just have it dialed down to a pretty good cost. An independent, we do get a little leg up in the fact that our pricing with some of these vendors is a little different than a franchise. They go per car.
Okay.
Kind of how much
out
your
that way.
inventory is, yes.
Yeah.
And there's, like with TrueCar, for instance, their model is on the new car. I know they charge per transaction a set fee, where they don't really have a way of capturing that on used, so that's just kind of a monthly fee for the advertising.
Okay.
And we found them to be pretty good. They have their certified with USAA program, and that kind of transfers the trust over to us as the dealership, and we found a lot of value in that. Where most new car stores, I don't think, like TrueCar as much, because they just kind of see them as showing the price and then interjecting them in between and then extracting the fee out of them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the things you mentioned where we're going with this, the TrueCar. One of the things I've heard is they've done a real good job following up the customer, trying to get them into service and everything like that. Now, obviously, without having a service department, that can make it a struggle. But with your independent lot here, if there was one thing that you would say makes you stronger than a franchise or makes you stand out, I know. Oh, you were talking about the warranty. Do you participate in one of those kind of warranty programs or certification programs to maybe make your cars a little bit valuable or compete with those? Because I know there's like the Motor Trends and, like you said, USA. Are there certain things that you do that you would go, man, if any independent dealers listening out there, you should be doing one of these type of programs? Is there something like that you're doing?
Well, we currently participate in a lifetime program, which is actually getting ready to be restructured here in another month, so we're going to have to take a look at that program again. But it's some of the cars out here that qualify come with a free lifetime powertrain warranty, and we tried to build a lot of value in that. There's a cost associated to us, the dealer, behind the scenes in that, so you really got to build the value. We didn't find that we could charge more for our cars as much as we thought. It's still really price driven, and people looking for a specific car they want. What we did find, though, is that we can really hold that asking price once they get here when we build the value into that program.
Defend it.
Right. Instead of kind of getting into a discount situation.
Yeah. What's the ways that you're kind of promoting it? Do you do like on the thumbnail and stuff like that?
Yeah, we just, again, we don't do any TV or radio or advertising. We just haven't.
Mm-hmm.
We feel our dollars spent more in SEO and just search type advertising like Autotrader or Cars.com. So we put them in every thumbnail, right across the lead photo of the car that qualifies for it, and then we put some literature in the ad itself, kind of about it, just enough to hopefully pique their interest and get them calling or emailing in and asking further about what that is.
Mm-hmm. Now, I deal with a lot of franchise dealers, and I have over the years, and I know being an independent, sometimes you wish you had that franchise to be able to help with that, but I also hear all the headaches that the OEMs and the regulations and what they can and can't do, and reviews, and dipping into used like GM. We were talking about GM starting to try to sell their own cars themselves and skip the dealers in a way. So there's got to be some benefits to being that independent lot. Is there anything, and I guess some of the overhead too, maybe is a benefit, but is there something that, again, that maybe stands out that you go, you know what, that you might use in a TO with a customer when they say, well, I can buy it from so-and-so. Is there any edge that you feel like you have in the market?
I think the franchise guy is controlled a little bit more by their OEM, by the manufacturer, especially more. I hear the Nissan guys kind of talking about it right now, how they're driven to this market share number that Nissan wants to hit, and they're kind of after it at all costs. And they're not, the manufacturer's not as concerned about the dealer itself's profitability, from what I hear. Where us as the independent, we kind of control our own destiny. I mean, we can run as lean as we want. If the economy takes a turn and cars aren't selling, there's not as many cars turning over, we can lean back. We can really control our overhead. We don't have that huge rooftop with those property taxes, 60 plus employees, and all those factors that you just really got to drive that number where, your net profit in the month can quickly be eroded away. So I do feel like kind of running lean and mean at times, gives us a little bit of an advantage. And then we just kind of, as far as selling to the consumer, I mean, a lot of these franchises, especially here in Kansas City, they're now been bought up by the larger groups. We have Berkshire Hathaway here, Group 1, Hendrick. You really get that corporate feel in those stores, and there's some turnover in there, and sometimes the message that those brands want to convey to their consumers is not actually what gets conveyed at the bottom salesperson level that's interacting with their customer. Where here, we're kind of a tight-knit family. We don't have a lot of turnover. We have that small, we really connect with our customer when they get here. And I feel like that's an advantage, I mean, if you just look at our reviews and the feedback from people, time and time again, that's kind of the message. We weren't that structured, store with a bunch of different managers and then throwing them in the F&I box and pounding on them, and that guy's trying to maximize his pay plan and all that the consumer could care less about, but that message gets conveyed to them in the way they're being treated.
They can sense it.
Right.
I always tell when guys are trying to get their bonus, that one extra unit, and they no matter what they take 5 ups, they can't get it. I think the customer senses it on them, like can smell them, that desperation.
Right.
But the other thing you talk about is trying to meet these OEM numbers, and they got to hit this. They're stepping up on trades to do that, and then when they're burying themselves in trades, it's hard to be competitive as an OEM on that car to the guy that doesn't have to, hit those kind of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we solely. I mean, we source what we want to source for our inventory, and we're really looking at day supply and interest in the market, and we get to stick to those principles a lot more. Where, I mean, the OEM guys sitting there, they have that number to hit, or it's going to cost them a lot of money at their monthly number. Yeah, I mean, it could be a 6-figure number to them, so they might bury themselves in that trade $3,000 to try to get that deal at the end of the month, and then that's going to cost them sooner or later down the road. I mean, we don't find ourselves in that position a lot, as an independent.
And that helps you be competitive with price and then get
Right.
people in the door.
Yeah.
So we got to wrap up here, but again, if there's one or two maybe ideas or tips, and any dealer out there, if there's one thing you think that can help dealers get to the next level, is there any particular thing that you kind of click on as your own that you go, you know what, this really works for me? And if I went somewhere else or if I open another store, this is the first thing I'd implement or anything like that?
Well, I mean, you just got to really have a strategy of what you want your store to run. I mean, if it's going to be subprime, you got to go a whole different way. If you're going to be a prime customer like we are, you really got to set it up that way. And I mean, we use Viato and the velocity principles here, and we don't just use it to appraise cars. We use it to run our entire operation. It's our whole philosophy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big thing, is really setting out what do you want to be as a store, as an independent, what type of inventory do you want to do, because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
You just can't price it, source it, and do it all and be competitive. And the other thing is just really use the internet to your advantage. I mean, guys like us are never going to have that $10 million plus building right on the interstate, that whole image.
Yeah.
But when the consumer's on the internet searching for these cars like they are now, spending all this time on the internet versus going from dealer to dealer, they don't know all that.
Yeah.
They don't see that huge capital investment those dealers have. So get your online reputation up, which are the reviews. People can start to sense the experience they're going to have if they come to your store by all that online reputation. It's huge. And we look just the same as any of the other dealers in the city on the internet.
Sure.
A professional web page, good online reputation, and then just comes down to people, price, product.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Dan, thanks for your time and appreciate it. And hopefully we see you guys next week on next week's show. Thanks. Hey, that was a great interview with Dan Oakes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, just some insights of what it takes to really get going from, you can see, he was a guy selling cars all by himself, a few a month, to grow to almost 100 and carrying 150 plus and growing in a very competitive market. So hopefully you got some best practice, some good ideas from him, and either as you being an independent dealer or even a franchise dealer. So again, continue to watch the show. Watch our previous episodes. We have great content there. If you need some more quick tips, I'm going to give you one here at the end of the show, but you also can go to increaseturn.com, get for more information. Or if you like a free inventory evaluation, let us do a virtual lot walk and give you a report. Just go to increaseturn.com. There's a form there to fill out to get a free inventory review. And at the bottom of that form is some more inventory, some more tips on how to turn your inventory better. Thanks. See you next week. Hey, Jason Rice again from Lot Pop. What I want to go over this week's tip is there's this black hole I've noticed in pricing, and here's what I mean by that. I push a lot of dealerships to flat pricing. I want a car priced at $20 grand and not $19,995. But irregardless, most of this, what I'm going to show you is charts derivative off that flat pricing strategy. So this black hole that I'm talking about, I've seen it a lot in high dollar, high volume vehicles. Let's say Jeep Wranglers, trucks, Sierras, F-150s that are 35, 40 grand. And what happens is, and I'm going to show you a few graphs, but I'm going to give you the theory first. Let's say you have a truck priced at 40 grand and you're at 100% of the market. Let's say then somebody goes and does a search for a truck 30 to 40 grand. And there's 8 pages on autotraderofcars.com in trucks. Well, it's high to low. They search high to low. The default's high to low on these sites. So at 40 grand, you're at the top of that search. They see it. You get a ton of SRPs. You get a ton of exposures. The chart goes crazy. But they don't click on it possibly because it's priced at average market and it's at the top of their budget. Now what happens a few weeks later, you start dropping the price and dropping the price $500, $1,000, another $500, and you're dropping this price. And I've seen, again, 35 to 40 grand, I've seen us get these vehicles down to 37.5 and no one's paying attention to this truck. How do we take a truck and drop 2 grand to 2,500 off of it, and all of a sudden it just disappears and no one even considers it, and we're not getting traction on it. And what happens is, again, 35 to 40 grand, there's 8 pages. They'll go through page 1 and page 2 of those trucks, right? Again, they might not click it at 40 grand. Then they might flip it low to high. and they're going to go through page 1 and page 2. They're not really going to page 3 and 4. They're not going 4 or 5 pages deep on their search. So when I'm at 40 grand and I drop it and drop it, you'll see the searches just start dropping on that vehicle. All of a sudden, you're at 37.5, which is right in the middle, and that's that black hole. You're not at 35 and you're not at 40, and if there's 8 pages of these vehicles, they're not getting to page 4 and 5 to actually see your truck. So here's a couple examples. This even works on like 18 grand vehicles. This chart here, you're going to see we started at 20 grand. The yellow line is the price. The black line is a 5-day average of searches. So at 20 grand, you see that huge spike. And we dropped it to 19.5, we dropped it to 19, we dropped it to 18.5, and now it's at 18, and you start seeing that spike go back up. Okay, there's another example here of a truck. Now, what happened, we started out at 42.5. Remember, that's the middle of 45 and 40. So at 42.5, you can see that black line is very low. We went to 42, 41.5, 41, 40,005. It wasn't until 40 grand where we see this big spike. Now, dropping it back down again, you're going to 38, and as we're dropping and getting more aggressive, that goes back down again. So there's this black hole where if you get these popular price bands, 15 grand, 18 grand, 20 grand, 35, 40 grand, you're going to get the spikes, but if you have to discount it, all of a sudden it becomes this black hole. So it mostly has to do with high volume vehicles. Again, if it's a Bentley or BMW or one that's not that many out there, if they're looking for a specific vehicle and there's only 10, this theory don't work. But when there's a huge volume of this type of vehicle, somebody does a sedan search or a truck search and there's 8, 10 pages, and you go from, and they search 35 to 40 grand. If you're high priced at 40, you're not going to get a whole lot of activity, get a lot of searches, but no one's clicking on it or calling on you. But if you're priced at 40 grand and you're 90% of the market, that's when the thing sells. So it's almost like a stocking strategy. I tell my dealers I would almost avoid that truck, that if I bought it and priced it at market average, I'm at 40 grand, unless there's something special about that truck. If it's a normal truck, you might not get the exposure, and as you drop it down, it's tougher and tougher to sell because you lose exposure. There's some charts I showed you today. If you kind of get that, if you have any other questions or more information on it, give me a call at 844-LOTPOP4 or email me at jrice@lotpop.com. Thanks.
Hello, and thank you guys for joining another episode of Driving Connections. I'm really excited about the episode we have in store for you guys today, mainly because women in automotive is something that is very, very dear to my heart. And today I have the founding board members and the founder with me today. And we're going to talk about women in automotive, not just the conference, but the need for us to talk about women in automotive. So with me today on video, I have Christy Roman, who is the president of Now Digital and our founder. She kind of put all of this together and brought us together, and I wouldn't have met the rest of these incredible women if it weren't for Christy. Jody DeVere, CEO of Ask Patty, and Joni Stuker, the president at Owner Connect. And on audio with us today, I have Kathy Gilbert, who is the director of sales and business development at CDK Global. Thank you guys for joining me today.
No Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So first and foremost, Christy, the most common question I get asked is, why are you doing this? Why is this women's conference even necessary? And I think that's a perfect place to kick off our conversation.
Well, we're doing that because there's nothing like it in the industry, really. There's no place for people, not just who work in dealerships, but who work with dealerships to go and learn from each other and be inspired and talk to each other. But it's also a venue to try to create awareness about what a great career opportunity there is in the automotive business, and to try to help dealers figure out better ways of hiring and keeping women at the same time that we're trying to help them market and direct their ads to women. It's a kind of a 360 view of how we can work together and be more involved as women.
I think being a woman in automotive, a lot of people, we would talk about this all the time. Wouldn't it be great if? And it was kind of more of a dream, you know, we all talk about it, but you made it come together and felt this sense of urgency to put something like this together. Why do you feel like now is the time that we really need to do this? Is there anything specific that stands out to your mind of the sense of urgency right now?
Well, I think just from talking to car dealers, they don't have any employees. There's a real shortage. You know, who's the next generation of employees that dealers are going to be able to hire? And women are underutilized. I think it was Craig Lockhart who said that 90% of the women who go work at a dealership end up gone shortly after. And I think if you were to ask a typical college student graduating with no job, they wouldn't even think about going into the car business. So there's a tremendous pool of talent that dealers are not taking advantage of. And part of it is a lack of understanding of how they can actually cater to women as employees. And part of it is just, I think, you know, we don't do a very good job as an industry of explaining what the benefits for a female, what's great about this industry for women and how they can develop themselves.
It's frustrating to hear stats like that. I know, Jody, you brought that up in a meeting, that just the amount of facts that you have in your head about, well, disappointing facts about this industry, it baffles my mind to hear it. I almost feel like I know it, I know those things, but I kind of ignore it because it's sad. And at last year's conference, when I walked in to our very first event, which was a cocktail party, it was
Amazing.
It was like nothing I've ever experienced before. It was just the feeling was overwhelming, not just because we were a part of putting it together, but just being there and experiencing it. Jody, I would love for you to talk about last year's conference. What were some memorable moments for you?
The energy level at the conference for the entire time. Usually when you go to a conference, it kicks off pretty high energy, and then it waxes and wanes throughout. We've all attended many, many conferences over the years like that, but this conference was very special. There was so much energy in not only the speakers and the presenters and even the fun entertainment, like Jade Simmons, who was just slayed the house, but in the audience. And really, even at the end, people did not want to leave because they didn't want to leave that feeling. And everyone that I have spoken with after the conference remarked about how it made them feel. And isn't that true in the car business? People react emotionally, and that helps them make decisions. But I think it was partly because it was a first of having all these women together in various roles in the automotive industry. It was a great mix of leaders and women who are new to the industry, suppliers, vendors, and we had men there too. We want to emphasize this conference is for men and women. We had some remarkable speakers as well. People were very moved by what Tammy Darvish said. She, how she kicked off the conference. I think Lisa Copeland also she is doing all the things that we're really trying to do in the automotive industry at the #1 Fiat dealership in the nation, Fiat of Austin. She was wonderful. I could go down a list. There was not really any bad speakers, but some of them really, I think, put everyone on the
Hit
edge of
home.
their seat.
And it hit home for a lot of people.
It
I
did.
just laugh anytime anyone brings up Lisa Copeland speaking, because there were so many women that were like, yes, it was like it was almost this angry excitement of like, yes, let's pull up a chair to the table, and yeah, let's shatter that glass ceiling. It was so motivational in a non just spiritual way. It was like, here are some actionable things I can do. And that I was so impressed by the quality of speakers. So yes, so if you want to follow along with what happened at last year's events, just highlights and tweetable moments and just incredible thought nuggets, look up hashtag Women in Auto 15. But then let's fast forward, because in June, 26th to the 28th, we are having the second event that we are hoping to double and then some the attendees and excitement and everything. So June in Orlando. If you want more information, you can go to womeninautomotive.com. Or you can also follow along with the hashtag on Twitter of WomenInAuto16 for all the latest details and tidbits. And as we announce people coming on. So feedback was a big thing for us as a board as we were talking. What did we take from the first event to change or introduce or include in the second event? I think there's some interesting things we could talk about. Jody.
So one of the things, first of all, it was really action packed. I mean, you could hardly take a breath. And so I think what we learned is to space things out. And one of the only complaint really was we didn't have enough time to network amongst each other, which really tells you that was a need. They wanted to have time at lunch and more breaks so that they could interact with each other and form some bonds and maybe informal mentoring, which we'll get to with Kathy, what came of that. And so this year we are doing 4 times the greatness, really focusing around dealership strategies, personal development, leadership, and the women's market in general. Trends on selling to women, marketing to women, employment is going to be a big thing, mentoring, and we're going to have fewer speakers, but give them a little more time. And it's going to be about more this year, I think, about how to make the changes.
Yes. Very actionable. I loved some of the feedback we got. I think you always do these polls where you ask people questions, but even our attendees' feedback was more than I expected. Just everyone was so engaged, and I tweet about this a lot. Women in Automotive for me is more than just a conference, more than just a talking point for the industry and other companies to jump on. It's a movement. I think that the sad stats aren't going to be there much longer if we keep having these conversations and getting dealers and vendors and everybody to really pay attention to the value of women in their workplace and really want to hit the point that we aren't just for women. We had some incredible insights from our counterparts that showed up and were willing to come to a first-time conference like that. So I definitely want to drive that point home. If you didn't know or you questioned it at all, please make sure that if you're a male or you have male counterparts that would benefit from coming to an event like this, there's plenty of materials. Just to highlight one more time, our 4 tracks, Jody?
Dealership strategies, personal development, leadership, and women trends in the women's market, sales, marketing, employment. And basically, overall, I think if I was going to give a high-level sentence of what the conference is going to give you is to help you develop a culture that will really maintain employment of women you already have, gain more employment, and deliver the ultimate experience for women. Heck, if women don't want to work there, why would they want to buy there?
Right.
I always say that.
I agree, 100%.
Which is a perfect segue Joni, we took this information, these moments that really got people talking, and we made an NADA presentation about it on recruiting and retaining women for the workforce. So, would you like to talk about that for a little bit?
I would love to, but I have to add something. A feeling that I felt was overwhelming was relief. It was interesting at our conference. I think women felt very relieved, like I'm being heard.
Yeah.
Someone's actually going to move on something because I've been doing this 100 years. I think I look
I thought it was
I
100.
look pretty good for 100 now. I can remember, and it's amazing how I'm always blonde. My hair never changes. I can remember this was probably 20 years ago or more, thinking, you know what, I'm telling you, 10 years from today, women are going to run every car dealership. We're going to take over. And there used to be a program out there called ASTN. And I did a show, and this was like in the late 80s, and I talked all about, the reasons why. Because today we're so disconnected. It's awful. I mean, it's just awful. Here we are. We women, we influence the majority of all buying decisions, right? And I know Jody gave me this stat, which is crazy. Women spend over $200 billion, okay, a year on servicing and purchasing. And yet we're nowhere. Why? So, I mean, it makes no sense. So our NADA presentation is going to be extremely eye-opening and very practical. So they walk away. I don't want them to feel like you're right. They need to be able to go back and say, you're right. Now, how do I do it?
Right.
How do I change the culture? How can I even be aware of what that culture is or should be? And how do I make that move?
Yeah.
To get into recruiting, specifics on recruiting and how we can attract. And I know this is all about women, but it's even just better people,
Yeah.
better environment, better productivity, better support. So when you walk out that door, it isn't just surface advertising, say we care, we're number one. It's like, no, show me.
Yeah.
Right. So the NADA is about, realities and how, not the why, we already know why. We don't have to go there. But we're from Missouri, we're the show me people. We're gonna show you how to get it done. All right. So those men and women that participate are gonna love it. They're gonna walk out going, I got it.
And it's, I think it's important to mention that it's not just about women. A lot of the grievances, a lot of the conversation about being able to hire and retain women are applicable to a lot of men, to a lot of millennials, to a lot of different people. And it really just comes down to culture. And while this is an important focus point that we really need to be talking about and focusing on, it's more about the overwhelming culture, the negative connotation of what the culture is in automotive that kind of limits women from joining. And
Subi, they wouldn't even think about it. Let's be
Right.
real. I remember, again, when I got into car sales, my mother cried. She's like, "You have a degree. What are you doing? Why car sales? Oh, and come on, it's 2016. We've got to change all that."
right.
Chrissy touched on it, and it is so true. It's an amazing, amazing world to work within. If they are truly set in the right manner. And boy, I do so much communicating with consumers. When they run into professional women that are at a dealership and support, they love it. I mean, all the defenses are down. It's just phenomenal. And we have to get the message out that we're powerful. It's time for us to use our power, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm getting just as motivated as when
Right
I was at the
on.
conference. Let's do it right now.
Doing it right now. God help
I
the
love
men
that message. I love that we're doing that at NADA because that's where, I feel like not just progressive or digital, like we have all these little mini conferences for a lot of things, but this is where all dealers go. And to have that as an important, just even if they don't even attend, but just see it as a topic and think about it, that in itself will be powerful. But I know it's going to be packed because this is something we need to talk about.
And we're giving away a free car. Did I say that?
You
All
may want to
attendees.
get that approved first.
That's not in the budget, Jody. But everyone's
Christy
gonna have to watch
just
the talk.
squash that real fast.
One thing I'd like to add is I happen to know several dealers, not several of the 17,000, but in my world, that are actually doing a lot of the right things. And so to anyone watching the show as a dealer, please reach out to us. We want to hear your story of how you're doing it right with women in your hiring and retaining, and also your culture, because these are the type of speakers that we would like to see at the conference. and also come participate and network with other, because I think it's really, that's what we're trying to do, as Subi says, build a movement. And so, I don't want to be too negative, because I know a lot of good dealers who are doing the right things. So, and we encourage you to attend to help us with the dealers that are willing and open to learning new things.
And there are a lot of people that work within organizations that have all the right intentions but don't know how to get there. Or I firmly believe that just one person attending and taking these nuggets back can change the entire culture. I can say that confidently because I feel like I was at my very first dealership. Women were not allowed to sell, so I would try to prove all these guys wrong, and I would walk it into finance and still get the $10 bonus for selling that car, and not get the perks of the guy that has salesman on his title that would just take all the credit for it. And it's sad because for me that was such a long time ago, but that's still happening today. And yet I also hear stories like Jody, you mentioned. There's a lot of women that are in these incredible environments, and as they share their story, they can inspire others or maybe just share ideas. Networking was one of the most, I think, impactful outcomes of the conference.
Yeah, now we have the Facebook group. We have the Facebook page. There's a lot of activity there and on our Twitter feed, and we have a LinkedIn group. And the women that are participating in that are high-level participants. They want to connect, and so I think it's really awesome.
It is awesome.
One of the most awesome things that we got out from the conference was developing this mentorship program. Jody, something that you said to me as we were just meeting, getting all this stuff together, was that you never stop needing a mentor, right? Like no matter what level you get to, you can be a CEO, but you still need people that have done it before you to be able to give you that advice. So Kathy, if you could talk about our mentorship program that was pretty much born at the conference itself, where we've come, what people need to do or know to get involved. I would love for you to talk about that.
So, well, thanks, Subi. The mentoring program, actually, to your point, came into existence following the Women in Automotive, our inaugural conference last year. And it came about as a direct response to the request that we received from the participants. When we developed the program, it was designed for participants that were looking for a formal or an informal mentoring relationship that would allow them to obtain some specific strategies, some tools, but mostly to get support from other experienced leaders, senior leaders in the industry. And at the conference, for me, it was awesome. As I, walked through the halls, I was pulled aside a couple times by young ladies that were at the conference that were just asking questions about, how did I find success in this industry, and what were some of the tips that I could share. And so, when we look at the numbers, and Joni mentioned it a little while ago, women are working in all facets of the automotive industry.
Absolutely.
We hold a significant influence over the household buying decisions that are made. She mentioned that, women spend over $200 billion annually on vehicle purchases and services. But what we see is that nearly 21% of all the employees at the automotive dealership are female, and only 7% of them are in executive positions. So when we looked at the mentoring program as a board, one of the things that was really important to us was to look at ways to accelerate the role of women in automotive, and the mentoring program was a natural offshoot of that. How do you help to increase the retention of women that are in this industry, to keep them in the positions that they're in as well as growing? And how do you support the performance as well as career advancement options for women? By building a community of leaders, supporting the acceleration of women empowering women, I think that allows us all to win.
I agree.
Absolutely. I feel like when you say something like a mentorship program, sometimes there's this negative connotation or this fear of the commitment and what would pertain, like fees and all that kind of stuff. Could you maybe alleviate some of that for people potentially considering it, but maybe a little bit afraid to get involved in that it's not a huge time commitment. There's no cost associated. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
So we all at some stage in our life or in our career, we need a mentor. And what's been interesting is, as you look in today's competitive landscape, building a mentoring relationship gives everybody, both the mentor, the mentee, and those that are managing the program or the organization, an added edge over our competition. The program that we've set up, we started it out and we're rolling it out in a two-phase approach. The first phase is a series of virtual collaboration calls once a month for an hour, where the mentors and the mentees are together on the call, and we talk about a key topic. The January call was focused on how do you define success. And we had our mentors, as well as some of our mentees, share their experiences on what success means to them, how they've been able to achieve success, some of the roadblocks or the challenges that they had to address, and how they were successfully able to overcome those. And it was just a great conversation of sharing. The virtual calls will go on through our June conference. And at our June conference, we will formally pair up our mentor-mentee. And the value there is you'll have a more formal relationship, someone that you can work with. And we're looking at maybe a hour to 2 hour commitment once a month. And again, that relationship will change once the mentor-mentee work out the specifics of what works best for them. But it isn't a big commitment. I mean, if you think about it, the value that a mentor can add to some of the participants, the young ladies in our program, the ability to shorten their learning curve or to open their mind up to some new ideas, new possibilities as it relates to opportunities in this industry, as well as to help brand and promote themselves. I mean, there's a lot of value that someone can offer for a very minimum amount of time.
Absolutely. And I think you gain so much from hearing other people's experience in automotive or outside of it. Sometimes we think that if we've been in a certain situation, and I can speak on the internet director side, because there's so many different roles and ways and paths into automotive, but the internet director side, we network with people that are just like us, and we almost assume that it's kind of all the same. But when you actually start digging into it and talking about other people's experience, you realize there's, even in just that one role, there's about 30 different layers that you didn't even know.
Oh,
and until I met a lot of you, I didn't even know all of these dark corners of the automotive industry. I didn't even know they existed. Some of these professional groups, Jody, that you are a board member and a member of, I didn't even know those existed. And those are all ways that we can improve ourselves. So not just women in automotive, but what other ways can people get involved? We talked about our LinkedIn and things like that. Are there any other ways that people can get involved to join the movement? Anyone can answer.
Oh, well, I was just going to finish up. When you think about the mentoring program, I mean, we do it every day. Women are naturally nurturers in that they want to help others to be successful. So even if you're not part of the formal mentoring program that we're rolling out, just look at ways that you can help and provide guidance and support to other women in the industry is a big start.
Absolutely. So an interesting question, how does someone convince their boss to let them attend if they don't see the value? Who wants to answer?
That's an interesting question.
I could say an answer. I can't say it. Oh, I mean,
Well, I think what you have to talk about is the return on investment. What is the return on investment? And so I want to go back to that 90% turnover rate and correct what was said. It's a 90% turnover rate of women working in sales roles. So here, for that reason alone, the cost to recruit, hire, train personnel that turns over at a rate of 90% is a big red flag. And that costs the dealership money, time, and a lot of other things. And so one of the reasons you would want to let your women in sales and their managers go is to come up with solutions to slow that turnover rate down. That will cause the dealership to be more successful in retaining and also helping them develop into successes. To find out what are the problems associated with the loss of so many women salespeople,
Absolutely.
based on that stat. And also come hear success stories of women who are working in F&I who became dealer principals. Come look at the career path that women are looking for so that you can mirror that. Come and learn how to develop a mentoring program within your own location to help nurture women and men too. I think that there is a great lack of that in general in the dealership environment. And turnover rate is always a challenge in the sales. And we believe that we're bringing information and a plan to help you improve that.
Yeah.
Here's what I
And-
think.
Those are
Go ahead.
actionable.
Sorry.
Actionable items, yes. Go ahead, Julie.
Absolutely. No, I was just going to say that the easiest way for someone to sit down with your dealer and say, every dealer principal that I've ever met, regardless of gender, has always said the same thing. They would love to have an entire sales force of women.
Yeah.
Always say the same thing. Man, if I had a whole sales team of women, that would be like the ultimate, the Dalai Lama, because we have great work ethic and all this.
Dalai
And how are we going to get there? I mean, it's like, so why do we always say it? What's our plan of action?
Yes. Yeah.
And getting to this conference is the best possible step to
Yeah.
achieve that and to move forward. So
Well,
that's what they have to be.
A one-liner that I would use with my bosses was, if I'm not growing and all I'm doing is putting out fires for you, then your department's not growing. We're not going to get better. We're just going to stay exactly. And if you're fine just staying right here, then don't send me.
Yep.
Or
Talk
you
is
can
cheap.
send me and I can come back with ways to make us better. So we're going to start wrapping up because I have a feeling that we could talk about this forever. Christy.
Yes.
What is the most important message you want people to hear about the Women in Automotive initiative?
Well, I think it's just such a cool thing. I mean, when we talked about it, it was all hypothetical, but then when it actually happened, it was like, it just was really cool to be in an environment where we could share ideas with each other and learn from each other and hear different perspectives on different, how people grew up in the business and the hardships that they've overcome. I think just having that environment, period, is so valuable, not to mention the changes we're trying to help the dealership culture bring. Then another thing I would add to what Joni was saying is, and Jody too, is, we're not just trying to develop the salespeople. How about if they're in the office and dealers don't know how to get that person from the office into sales? How do we develop our people? And young people too, how do we help dealers get that pool of talent into the business? And so I mean that all of that I think kind of explains how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, really quickly, I want to go around the virtual room. And if people want to continue any of this conversation with you one-on-one, how do people get a hold of you?
Who do you want to go first?
Jody?
They can reach me at jdevere@askpatty.com. They can reach me on Twitter at AskPatty. We have a Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Please do reach out. We're very excited about the upcoming conference. Get involved.
Absolutely. Christy?
You can reach me, croman@womeninautomotive.com. That's probably the best way.
All right. Jenny?
Text me.
All right. They would need your number for that.
Well, it's 847-612-2128. Text me. And just remember, we know what walks. So let's learn how to actually make a difference. Walk the walk, not talk the talk.
Definitely. Kathy?
Best way to reach me is kathy.gilbert@cdk.com or kategilbert@womeninautomotive.com. That's kathy.gilbert@cdk.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So just for some closing information on how to get involved with Women in Automotive yourself, we're on Facebook. We have a public page. It's facebook.com/womeninautocon, CONF. On Twitter, we're at Women in Auto Co. Because there's a lot of women in autos taken. But just to direct you to the right places, you can go to either of those places. You can go to www.womeninautomotive.com directly and find all of our information there. But I want to conclude in saying thank you guys so much for joining me. But more importantly, you've all impacted my life in a very serious way. Having the time to get to know you has, I think, made me grow. And I've learned so much from being around you guys, and especially Christy, to include me on this and to even just, I don't know how you started this or came up with the idea and then decided to make it come to life. But thank you for doing this. For every woman in the industry, I'm going to say thank you, because I think it is just the beginning. And I think that we're going to change a lot of people's lives. And I appreciate you so very much for everything that you're doing. But thank you guys definitely for being here today to talk about this. This is just the beginning of an incredible movement. And I hope you guys all join us in Orlando, June 26th to the 28th, for an incredible chapter 2 in this incredible book of ours. So thank you guys so very much. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to email me at subi@dealerauthority.com. You can follow me at subi101 or at asksubi on Twitter. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
This episode of Auto Deal Live is brought to you by TrueCar.
Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
What's up? What's up, man?
What's going on?
I'm socially awkward today, brother. I'm freaking awkward.
I was socially awkward for a period of time. It was like 12, 13 years old. It was hard. It was those weird years, zits, body hair, and odors.
Well, you still have a lot of body hair there, buddy.
I know, it's getting more intense, too. So can I see that? That's awesome. Look, we're not so fancy. Look, this is like breaking news.
Who's going to be on
buddy.
today?
Breaking news.
That kind of breaking news.
So, Dave Villa, let me mention something for our watch or viewers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't or they haven't tweeted, or today, and they feel like tweeting something. Why don't you hashtag Auto Dealer Live and why don't you tweet something?
Hey, I got a question.
We'll see it.
Does Mike the car guy really have his Christmas tree up still?
Mike the car guy.
Mike, you got your Christmas tree up behind you there, buddy. On the
He's like, it's an Easter tree.
It's an Easter. Oh, Easter. Those are Easter eggs.
Those are bunnies and rabbits and such and peeps.
Wait, what's wrong with still having your Christmas tree up?
You know nothing.
That's interesting, Mike the car guy. Good
You know
for
what? It saves time. You
Hey,
don't have to
good
put it
for
up next. Yeah, you don't have to put it up next Thanksgiving, right? Where's my bobblehead, Arnold? Arnold, what's up, man?
Yo.
Hey, go ahead. So
I was just
finish
gonna
what you were
yo,
saying,
Arnold.
man. That's how to.
I don't think I was. Yeah, I mean, I was just telling everybody to tweet Auto Dealer Live, hashtag Auto Dealer Live. The reason you should, it's because there is content on our Twitter feed that really, some of it doesn't get mentioned because we're busy. We have an agenda here. We have things I'm looking at my Twitter right now,
Ezra.
But there's a lot of good stuff happening on.
Grab me one of those. Hey, grab me one of those boxes, those socks over there. Yeah, bring one over here.
So anyway, like I said, you got good stuff happening, and you should tweet so we can see what you think about what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be an outstanding show today, man. It's socially awkward. We are going to be discussing social selling, and Twitter's already lightened up. So here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to do 2 hashtags today. This is what it's going to be. Mike, Ezra, I need you guys, get with Mikey and Kim. All right, make sure, I say this all the time, and I don't know if it happens or not because our Twitter's blowing up, but throughout the show, we're going to go ahead and give you updates of who is in charge in the Tweeter leader, meaning using both hashtags, Mike, Auto Dealer Live, hashtag Auto Dealer Live, and hashtag social selling, both in the same tweet. I don't care if you tweet your toenail. I don't care what you tweet. As long as the hashtag Auto Dealer Live and social selling are there, the top one is going to get these bad boys.
Oh, sweet mercy. Oh, it's
You like
a
that?
shambles.
You like
It's
that?
like the Zeppelin. Oh,
man.
the humanity.
You're going to get that.
No, tell them what they really get, Dave.
Huh?
Where'd it go?
Somebody just laughed out there. I heard like people laughing outside. Grab my socks real quick.
Get
man.
the socks.
Give me the. Yeah, I need the socks.
How many people we have in this room
We're
that
gonna
can help?
We're going to give away a box of these socks right here. Okay. We're going to give a box of these Grant Cardone socks right there. These are cool as heck, man. I bought some of these
They're
for our
dope.
sales guys. We
They're actually really sweet.
Yeah, our top sales guy won them the first day we had them, and I got a couple
You
extra
want to
pair.
show them what's inside?
Yeah, sure. I'll open them up. But we're going to give away these because these are just fresh. I'm just telling you, man, they're fresh.
They are, and if
know,
you-
I'm not. There's no shame in my game of giving someone else's product away because
No, and Grant's a genius because
socks, baby. Look at that.
Look, 10x
All right.
socks sell will be sold socks.
These are
You got Ink the
$60.
Deal socks.
All right. So a
Sweet.
little shout out to Grant. I was in Miami this past Monday. We sat down and interviewed Grant. And anyway, it was an awesome deal. So going to give these socks away, but you have to hashtag Auto Dealer Live, hashtag social selling, and the tweeter leader today will win both. So let's blow it up, gentlemen, ladies. Let's do it. And then, ladies, if you wear socks, wear them. Sorry, this may be a little more male specific. However,
they could be unisex.
yeah, they could be
Sure.
unisex, and of course you can give them away or whatever. But they're just pretty cool to have.
They are cool.
So, social selling, man. We're going to discuss some things today I think that are kind of controversial a little bit because, we're sitting here talking about giving socks away on Twitter. So, obviously, Tommy, we agree with social media and the fact that social media is prevalent today. And but here's the thing, man. Social media is is obviously prevalent, in our day and age. And again, we're talking about giving something away over Twitter, and here we are broadcasting, via video online, video streaming, and audio streaming through Blog Talk. But we're talking today specifically about selling on social media, and there's some real discrepancies when it comes to that. There's lines that I think that you and I, we talked a lot about this, and we're going to have our guest really weigh in on the fact of selling cars through social media and selling. So we have people on both sides of the fence today. We have experts. We have those that are obviously dealers currently. We have past dealers, people that are selling dealerships, social programs. And this is going to be a legitimate stripped down discussion on, can we effectively sell cars over social media, and what's the correct method in doing this? And by the way, in that process, not only uncovering the correct way, possibly, if there is one, right, the correct path, but also uncovering possibly the incorrect paths and the fallacies when it comes to selling cars, or what we thought was social selling.
That's it.
What do you think?
Well, as a salesperson, you want to maximize every avenue. I mean, we cold call a lot, which is, the phones are kind of a best friend, but shoot, we get leads off of social. We sold leads. Today we're literally getting deals potentially off of some things that came in from some social stuff we did.
Right.
So yeah. So I want to know the right way, the wrong way, if there's a more efficient path to the sale. You're never gonna have to stop selling. You're always gonna have to pick up the phone. You're always gonna have to meet somebody. You're gonna have to shake a hand or do it over the phone, whatever that looks like. You're gonna have to make contact. But shoot, if we can generate a lead that way,
right?
And why not?
Absolutely.
I'm down.
So it's going to be exciting, man. We're going to be coming right back. We're going to have our panel. The next up, by the way, Twitter Leader gets the socks. We're going to send the socks out. They're cool as heck, man. Again, these are a $60 value. We're going to give them to you. We appreciate our listening audience, and I think you'll enjoy them. Compliments of Auto Dealer Live via Grant Cardone. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, Tommy, and then the next up is a social selling panel.
Boom.
Right here.
Booyaka.
On Auto Dealer Live. We'll be right back.
Go with the pros who know. Your dealership wouldn't trust its vehicles in the hands of an uncertified technician. So why trust its finances with accounting firms that don't know your business? Rosenfield & Company knows the automotive industry and has been serving dealerships like yours for over 20 years. We take pride in helping our clients grow from single-point stores to some of the largest dealer groups in the country. We are more than just your accountants. Our team can guide you through mergers and acquisitions, operational reviews, succession planning, and more. Visit us on the web for more information at www.rosenfieldandco.com.
Jason Rice from Lot Pop, and let me tell you what we do to help dealerships increase used car sales 20 to 30% in gross in volume. 3 areas we focus on: trend reports. We look at weekly trends that no one else is trending to make adjustments on our inventory. 2 is we do weekly review calls to review those trends, but also we dig through every car that needs to be price adjusted to increase the searches. And 3, we do a virtual lot walk, make sure every car is standing tall in line, and make sure we don't have bad photos like these. Check out our website, lotpop.com. our blog at automotiverevolution.com, and our weekly video tips at increaseturn.com. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Alan Ram, president and founder of Alan Ram's Proactive Training Solutions. Let's face it, good managers are defined not by what they do when they have a showroom full of customers, but more by what they do when there are no customers in the showroom. In 2015, whether you like it or not, the car business is all about conversion of opportunities and driving traffic. All those great closers and desk people are not doing you a whole lot of good if your dealership is not converting effectively on the telephone and internet. As an owner or dealer, when you see 5 salespeople standing by the front door doing nothing, don't kid yourself. Your dealership is not being effectively managed. Management by Fire is a 2.5-day intensive course conducted entirely by me that teaches managers how to effectively manage in today's automotive industry. Simple processes for driving high-quality traffic. For more information on upcoming events, please call my team at 866-996-4665. Once again, 866-996-4665. Thank you.
Service Group has over 40 years of experience empowering dealerships to grow profits, develop personnel, and provide their customers with a high level of service. We offer high-quality products, world-class servicing, and innovative training and technology. Meet our team, first-class trainers, the best account managers, and an executive team that's second to none.
This is your Service Group team. We look forward to giving your people the power to perform.
Max Profit Selling, an easy-to-follow, buyer-friendly sales process that will give you the tools, skills, and confidence to consistently sell premium vehicles to delighted buyers.
To learn more about selling the way your customers prefer to buy, please visit nopressureselling.com or call 1-800-515-0034.
Oh, I hit myself in the lip with the microphone.
What the heck's going on, man? It's like a
weird.
It's almost like we're awkward.
Oh, what a perfect segue.
Yeah, you
into
like
our,
that?
Oh, sweet. Look.
Come on.
Oh, well, thank you. You're good. I'm good. If you're good, Mike.
We're good.
No, that was the thumbs up that the guests are ready.
All right, we're ready.
I didn't need.
We're knocking crap over. So, hey, we're socially awkward today, but man, I'm really excited about this panel. What do you think?
No, the panel's good. Hopefully, they're better than we've been so far on the beginning. This way the show has started.
They will, man.
Amen.
They will.
So, well, why don't you introduce them, Dave? Are they? They're ready to come on. Let's do this.
Let's do this thing. The next up on Auto Dealer Live is the social selling panel. We have VJ, e-commerce and marketing director, Universal Auto Group. We have Laura Madison, national director of sales for Allen Ram's Proactive Training Solutions. We have Brett Oob. He is the president and owner of Lakeside Ford, Winnesboro Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Ville Platte Chrysler Dodge Jeep, and Car Pros.
Wow.
We have Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. He's a speaker, sales trainer, consultant extraordinaire. And then we have Allen Ram, president and founder of Allen Ram's Proactive Training Solutions. Gentlemen and lady, we want to thank you guys for joining us today on our social selling panel. It's been a highly anticipated show and topic. We've been getting a lot of feedback and opinions on this. And we're going to kind of jump right into this and kind of start with VJ, and I want to start with you for a second because it's interesting. You said you knew who Laura and Alan obviously were, and you're a dealer, and you didn't mean this in an egotistical way or what have you, but you said something that was interesting. So I want to start with you. You said I've been doing this or social selling, and you're a dealer since. And I think the phrase was, I know Laura, but I've been doing this probably since she was in the crib, meaning that. You've been kind of doing this for a while. You're a believer in it. So I'm going to start with you and talk about how important is this discussion in the auto business today?
Well, thank you for having me, and hello to everybody. So, early on in 2006, 2007, when I was with the Fund Automotive Group in Atlanta, I started early on, and I was one of the first who got a flip cam and all that stuff, and I started out to just take photos of our car functions, and I created a BMW Atlanta blogger with the WordPress, and I found out that early on that people said to me, they saw me as awkward, it's exactly like the title of the show said. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I said, you know what, that will be the future. And I always think that I can look around the corner. I don't know what it is, but I somehow have the right feel and like an antenna. And in 2007, 8, 9, I was early on with the social media. Twitter was really just fresh. And I saw the opportunity, and that's why I know Laura good from following her, how she did it with her Laura Drives blog. And I always appreciate that because she had a nice demeanor. She is very likable on the camera. And I think that's where we need to focus as car dealerships. We are all having the same rebates. We are all having the same pricing on the website. How differentiating we ourselves? Yeah, we have maybe a shuttle service more or whatever, but that doesn't really count any longer. We need to nourish our opportunities. What of our database already shows what we can do to be more engaging. So the video power is there. We have to be more proactive, in my opinion, and we have to focus on the people, still buying from people. So all the technology, all the big data is all nice and good, but we have to be more likable, as Laura very well demonstrated when she was in Montana selling cars. And as I'm right now doing again for this auto group, I have a VJ Drives Tacoma blog where I'm driving lederhosen, test driving cars because I'm German, and I wanted to just make a little spiel with it, and it's relating very well to the customer. Customers contacting me directly and say, hey, you know what, your review was not only good, was funny too. I would like to come and see this car. So that's how we connect right now.
Okay. Thank you for and Laura. Let me ask you this. Mark Hunter's on as well, and I'm gonna give him a chance to weigh in here. He's a sales trainer, and he wrote a blog Why Social Selling Is Not Social Selling. And of course, I'm gonna let him defend his statement. And I don't think there's gonna be a ton of a disagreement here. But one of the things that Mark says is social selling. Here's his issue. He said social selling works as a way to create relationships, develop awareness, and generate insights. But to think we're going to close sales purely based off social selling, Mark says, is simply not a solid business plan. And the title of this is Why Social Selling is, of course, not capital social selling. So what he's saying there is, does that hold merit in your opinion? I mean, what do you say about that in regards to social selling, and then and then kind of segue into maybe commenting on what VJ said as well?
Sure. Well, I think Mark is really on to something here, especially when we talk about building relationships. Social media is one of the best tools to do that. But of course, I have to disagree in regard to the effectiveness of using social to sell the vehicle. There's been some really incredible studies that have backed up not only my experience, and what I was able to accomplish in Montana selling cars, but how the automotive industry as a whole is really moving in this direction of social. A study that Google did, said that people who were planning to use YouTube to research vehicles, over 70% of them were influenced by the YouTube videos they saw, more than TV, newspapers, magazines. I mean, that to me is compelling. That's not only saying that video, is helpful for visibility, but yeah, it's saying that it's gonna help the sale.
Okay, and Mark, before I'll let Tommy go in and weigh in with Alan, but Mark, do you want to comment on that? I mean, I guess Laura was saying, just to kind of recap, if you didn't hear everything she said, she agrees with you in part, and what you said is very important. Kind of disagrees, maybe separates a little bit with the fact that you can't sell the vehicle. I understand what you're saying here, and there's a lot of merit to it. I actually read this earlier in the week and felt. I actually felt like, I got what you were saying here as well. And I think that if anything, though, this is going to be an issue that we have to address. Your point is a point that dealers raise. Hey, it's a way to build a relationship, but I still have to sell this car, to this person. And that process may or may not have changed. So won't you weigh in on this, Mark, a little bit? And we thank you, by the way, for being on the show.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Yes. What we do in social selling, it creates a relationship, that's the start, which then helps us create trust and confidence with the customer and the customer with us. I mean, that is absolutely essential if we're going to create a sale. But to really think that we're going to complete the sale just by way of social selling is just not going to happen. And the main reason I wrote the article is because I saw a lot of salespeople spending all day out on social websites. And they're in this conversation, they're in that conversation, and they're having a lot of great conversations. But are you really talking to the prospect? Are you really talking to that person who is looking to buy that vehicle? Or can you take that person that's thinking about it and move them towards buying a vehicle? That's the challenge that I always see in social selling. So it really it's just a matter of how you're using your time. But you're still, to really think that we're going to close the sale just by way of tweeting back and forth or Facebook posts back and forth, probably not going to happen. Let's put it this way. It may happen. It'd be great. But, boy, if I had to rely on that to do all my sales, I'd probably not have shoes on my kids. I probably just wouldn't be selling enough vehicles.
Mr. Alan Ram. Are you with us, sir? Look at this guy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Man, welcome back. Welcome back.
I always wonder, what helmet is that in the background, Alan?
That's my Marine Corps helmet.
Nice. Well, thank you for your service, man. Thank you for your. I knew before I knew that you had to be a Marine, because you seem like you wake up and chew nails. You know what I mean? Like you're on fire all the time, man. What do you say about? I mean,
I've got nothing. I've got Laura Madison on this call. Why am I even here? I just wanted you guys to see my Pat Tillman jersey.
That's it? Okay. Well, you might as well weigh in since you came.
Yeah. I don't know what. I don't know what. Laura certainly, and I just heard Mark speak, and Laura certainly isn't a proponent of selling the vehicle over social media and through Twitter or YouTube or anything like that. It's all about making a connection, and it's all about connections. And this is so nobody on our end was talking about doing the whole transaction over social media, but it is a way to connect and build relationships. When I see still in 2016, you still see salespeople standing out front waiting for ups. And I was talking to this with the guys from Next Up, Mark and Clint, that were here in the office yesterday. You think about this, every one of those salespeople standing outside has not just a customer base. Forget about the customer base for a minute. They've each got on average 350 Facebook friends. They've got, everybody they want to sell a car to is on LinkedIn. Let's face it, every 800 credit score out there is on LinkedIn. And there are 4 billion YouTube video views per month. So it's all about making connections, and that's what social media is about: making connections, building relationships. And by the way, Volker, Laura Madison was not in the crib in 2006. Although I do know that when I was selling cars, Mark Zuckerberg was still riding a big wheel around. So ask Laura Madison questions, please. I'm just here so you guys can see my stuff.
I want to go to Brett Ube real quick, because Brett, you're flying your plane, between 4 stores, and I know that you were on the vendor side once upon a time with a couple of really big companies, and if I'm not mistaken, you were one of the top or first 10 employees at Autotrader.com. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I was in the first hiring round.
First hiring round. Okay, so and here you are, a dealer. I know you're in real estate and so forth. No one's denying. And I want to ask you about this, because even though Alan, clarified, that, hey, I'm not a proponent of the whole process. You heard Mark and kind of read something else from his article here. He says, this may seem harsh, but I find too much time being wasted. And I mean wasted on social selling, because it become a giant time suck. Now, here you are in a position where obviously we're in an internet and social age, okay? And obviously I know you're on social media. I get your posts and shares every day, and as well as Mark. And so is it and can it be a time suck if we allow it to, if we don't handle it right? And what's your opinion moving forward? Can more of the process be handled online, or is that not really the definition of what true social selling is, Brett?
I mean, my opinion is that, until the human condition changes, the sales process will remain the same. I mean, the vehicle by which we get the customer in may change, but the human condition will remain the same. And I think what you have is, I know years ago when we were doing sales training, we'd give a sales training process, and people would get really excited and think all they had to do was go say those 5 things, and that the customer was going to say, where do I sign? And then 2 weeks later, they were like, this doesn't work. And it's, well, yeah, the word track works, but you got to learn how to sell. Mm-hmm. And so same thing happens with social selling, right? As salespeople take the path of least resistance, and they're hoping to conduct everything online and hide behind talking to people rather than getting the customer in and trying to sell them a vehicle. And so to me, social selling is a great opportunity, because all social selling is a morph of what people used to do when they'd buy the car and they'd go home and they'd show 5 neighbors. Well, now they put it on the internet and they show 50 people or 100 people or 300 people. And so you have the keeping up with the Joneses or the monkey see, monkey do situation. If you're a astute salesperson, you can leverage that and get some referrals out of somebody's social media bank. But I think it's really a referral-based opportunity to get the customer off of Facebook or off of Twitter or whatever your social media of choice is, and onto the phone and into the store and try to serve them and serve their needs.
Well, does it make more sense then for us to kind of rename it, social networking or social lead generation? Does that make more sense than social selling, because that's not really what's happening?
And you can call it whatever you want. I mean, at the end of the day, the sales process is the same. As I said when we went to Digital Dealer, I walked around and every vendor there told me that they didn't need the sales process anymore, but could they set an appointment and give me a sales presentation? So, and I said, well, just send me an email. We don't need that anymore. But you don't understand my products. You'll have to hear my presentation. So the reality of it is that it's all lead generation. I mean, if you're going to spend $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000, unless you're a 800 credit score that's buying a brand new car with no trade, financing already in tow, the rest of the people got to come in, which is the majority of America.
I'm going to ask Laura and Mark this, and of course Brett, VJ, Alan. You guys can all jump in. Feel free, to kind of round robin this. So just kind of raise your hand, so to speak, jump right in. But starting with Laura and then Mark. So let me ask you this: when it comes to so what I'm hearing here is that it's a more of a networking, and it's a way to get attention. And let me throw this out there. Again, I mentioned I was with Grant Cardone Monday. We were down in Miami, and I would think anybody would be a fool to think that he doesn't sell things online. I'm talking like transactions, However, there's a relationship there. It's with the consumer, and there's multiple small dollar products that you can purchase, wristbands and socks and things of that nature, not $30,000 automobiles. So before you kill me, let me just say, so there's this multiple transactions that could be anytime there's a Periscope, I could sell something. Anytime there's this, I can sell something. But putting that type of sale aside, Laura, isn't it a relationship builder, and then that relationship leads to ultimately bringing them in? I mean, weigh in on that, and really why maybe there's companies out there that might be selling this the wrong way to dealers.
Well, I certainly want to weigh in because I'm feeling like I have a bunch of grandpas trying to redefine what I know social selling to actually be and how effective it can actually be. You guys want to rename it, but you haven't lived it. When I started with taking action on social, I did think that it was going to be a relationship builder, and that turned out to be very true. Social media provided a great introduction to people. It, like Mark says, it really started to build the trust with customers. But I learned something else that was really powerful, and it was that these connections were so strong that we did start selling cars because of the social media connections. I started shipping cars all over the Northwest. So many of my clients lived so far outside of our normal territory, and that's something we talk about. Again, it's a testament to how strong this connection can be, but can we sell cars on social? God, yes. I did it. So I'm really not sure why we would rename it social networking. We're seeing more and more people really do that and emulate it and follow this game plan and roadmap to do a similar thing. So I'm really not comfortable with a bunch of people saying, oh, we probably can't do it. And hey, I would agree with Mark in the respect that we probably can't do it tweeting back and forth. I didn't like Twitter the best for social selling either. But actually creating relationships with people that I'll never actually meet and shipping the car to them and working deals or taking a deposit on a vehicle and then having them drive their trade 12 hours, that happened all the time.
Mark, are you being
that's important to me.
Okay, absolutely. And you were very successful at it. And by the way, Alan, you got the right girl there, man. She just stood up in the middle of a circle full of us and said,
grandpas, I believe
she called you a grandpa, kind of, Mark. Mark, are you being a grandpa in this respect, man? Or what do you say to that? I mean, obviously Laura's had some success with it, but then again, I get your part. I'm not a grandpa yet. My oldest daughter.
Grandpa age,
I'm close. I mean, not like I'll be a very young grandpa, but
you could.
The point is that I'm in the middle here, man. I mean, I got to be very honest with you. I see both sides, and I'm not just trying to be, I'm not trying to be unbiased. I'm just being. I'm not sold yet.
Well, here's the thing. I think Laura's spot on because social media allows you to expand your network. It allows you to reach people that you'll never get on your lot. That's the beautiful thing. So in that regard, social selling, and let's call it social relationships, social networking. It's that ability. And again, I come back to that ability to build trust and confidence. You'll never be able to do that to the extent that you can by using social media sites. Just the piece where I get concerned with is make sure that every minute you spend on social media it's earned that right. Because, again, I'll go back and I watch too many salespeople spending way too much time watching stupid cat videos. That's not going to do anything to move the business.
Mm-hmm.
Alan,
I couldn't agree more. Just to jump in real quick.
Alan, I can't hardly hear you. You're away from your mic or something. At first, it kind of fades out, and then was Alan?
All right, can you hear me? You can hear me now, right?
Yep. Yes.
How are we talking about cat? Who's talking about cat videos? Laura, did you ever? Is that how you sold all those cars up in Montana? As you were watching cat videos?
I have to totally agree with you, Mark, that it could potentially be a time suck, but I think our job in the business, as we kind of run these micro businesses, figuring out how much time we're spending on the phones, how we're following up with full customers, how we're mining opportunities, everything needs to be prioritized. So I completely agree with you that it shouldn't be the only activity, but should it be in the mix and should it be higher up on the priority list? Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say why.
Of course.
Well, I was going to say just real quick. You talk about time sucks, and I think if you're not, even if it's sucking some time, it's actively pursuing business in some way, shape, or form, as opposed to, I don't know. I mean, I've never worked in a car lot.
What
does it look like when you're not doing that? If you're not making cold calls and you're not doing that, you're not taking it up. What are you doing then?
Yeah, well, let me throw this to VJ here, and let me say this, and because I'm kind of be devil's advocate here, because I understand both sides, and let me just see if maybe this is what Mark was talking about. I had many sales reps over the year, but let's just look at something that is prior to really social media taking off. But let's say when email really became prevalent and people started to send email. I had a rep that went from number one, had a record that stood for a solid year, to me firing him after 6 months of not being able to turn him around because he tried to take the path of least resistance. No matter what I told him, his sales dropped dramatically because he tried to email and take the path of least resistance and got off the phones. So I'm not sure if that's where Mark's going with this. Because maybe Laura, and I know you agreed it slightly, and Alan, but maybe everyone's not as disciplined. So I don't want to put words in Mark's mouth, but I mean that's what I was thinking of when he began to say maybe some time being wasted. Now I wasn't thinking about cat videos and things like that, but I was thinking about reps in that nature, because I mean sometimes people, if you give the wrong salesperson the ability and say, hey, I think we really get a LinkedIn account. We just started branding our salespeople here, and my fear was, and I interview you guys all the time. My fear was that sales reps that weren't good enough, okay, and weren't ready to really brand themselves socially might starve. And that's what Mark said, because they would look at that as like the top salesperson in the room is doing it. But they're also the top salesperson in the room, got a big book of business, and they're disciplined enough to make phone calls. You're not. I mean, does that make sense?
Well, and you're talking about the difference between people that are, you might be concerned with these cat videos, that people are going to be pretending like they're working, pretending like they're on social media and doing something versus really doing something. Mm-hmm. That's a different topic. Mm-hmm. As far as what we call it, social media, whatever we call it, who cares? At the end of the day, social media and using social media and like I said, I don't know anything about selling cars on social media because I've learned it from Laura. Like I said, if you ask me how many cars I sold on social media, I would tell you it was 0. Mark, how many cars have you sold off social media?
I'm not in the automotive industry, so I can't
Okay, exactly. Laura sold 30-plus cars a month using social media. And I think that one of the things that she realized, while everybody else was standing outside on the point talking about their fantasy football team and talking to each other, she had a realization that how many people could I reach through social media? And this is one of the things that Grant, all the credit to Grant. How else can you be everywhere all the time if not on social media? Somebody please answer that question for me. My microwave goes off and Grant's picture flashes up on my microwave. So how can you be how can you be everywhere all the time if not on social media? Just answer that.
You got to give Mark a chance to respond to that. VJ, we'll come right back to you. But Mark, respond to that and weigh in on it. And go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Hey, social media is excellent when it's put in the right person's hands, such as with Laura. The challenge is they got to know how to use it. It's the same thing like when the telephone first came out, or like you use the example of email. If you didn't know how to use email, you would die using it. the challenge we have is that not enough salespeople out there really know how to use social media to sell. And that's why you got to look to people like Laura to say, hey, how do I sell effectively using social media?
Look at how Mark teed us right up there, Laura.
Well, Tommy, can we go this direction? I hate to feed you this question, but we have to stay on this vein because I think that going to VJ real quick. I know you can't hear your mic. I can hear you.
Okay.
But VJ, we'll go to you, and you did get teed up. But honestly, Alan, going back for a second, disagreeing with you just for 1 second, I actually think that as much as I didn't know going into the show that this would actually be part of it, I actually think they do go hand in hand because I think that tapping into this is very important for you guys because that's probably why dealers would be unreceptive to it because they will think that their people aren't ready for it or something. You know what I'm saying? So I think just as effective as it is in maybe teaching them the bells and whistles of it is saying, hey, look, this is okay to do. It's okay to implement, but I think there's going to be some training. VJ, what do you think about that, man?
Well, that's the point. I see it, it's a perception what is in the automotive industry. It's like old as 70 years old. We are always thinking we are wasting time when we are doing something new. And social media, let's face it, an email, you are checking your email, let's say you have a Gmail account, maybe 10 minutes combined of an entire day. Social media right now, we are generating around about 2 hours on conversion or communication on social media. So we are using an old technology, and I don't want to doom it because I use email marketing as well. But social media, everybody knows already what they're doing and how they do it. The problem is, you said it right in the entry, there is a lack of training. What we need to do, because we are always still in the same mindset, push marketing. It's a pull marketing. Social media is pull marketing. Laura did it right when I sold cars on social media very early on in 2008 and 2009, because I pulled with intriguing messages. I put a photo up, for example, and that's what we need to train. I put a photo up of an Dodge Viper, and I said, whoa, what a rocket, 0 to 60 in whatever, 4 seconds. And people just saw the picture, and they said, how much is it? And that's what it is. We need to pull. And we are always in this old marketing shoes, in the old automotive school, push. That is what the change is. Laura did see it very well. I did see it very early on, and that's what I'm also implementing right now in my marketing strategy here at the Universal Auto Group. So education is everything. We don't have to tell a millennial how to post on Instagram. They are showing you everything. They know already. We need to know now. Tell them what is the message we want to really portray. Is it it's a soft selling. That's what it is.
I know this is going to be politically incorrect, but VJ, can you say I'll be back? Can you do you got this? Can you do that for me just so we can get this sound bite, man? We could use it. We'll send it to you.
I'll be back.
Come on, I was just thinking. You got. I love the accent.
I could have done it better than that.
Well, go ahead, Ted.
I was gonna say, we talk a lot in my business. We talk about numbers and conversion and ratios and stuff like that. And somebody, Ian Smith on Twitter, has said, how many salespeople capture their customers' social media information and keep in contact via social media. So that's part of it. But then, do we have? Is there any? Probably Laura would be best suited to answer this. Are there any hard numbers on conversion, or is there? Can you even calculate that when it comes to actual, contact with people made socially and then selling them?
Who are you asking?
Laura.
Laura, I think Laura would be
the
best.
question to me?
Yeah. If you could answer that, I think you'd probably be best suited for that particular question.
To be very honest with you, I don't have firm numbers. It's not something that I ever tried to track or study from a scientific, perspective. I'm a salesperson. So I was motivated by sales, and I remember the first car I ever sold off social media. That was my aha moment. That was, okay, this converts. And over the years, I worked and I tweaked and I tried to figure out what was going to work and maybe what wasn't so effective. And I've honed in on the strategies that were effective, but do I have numbers about how my 10 minutes creating a quick video and posting it on YouTube was going to perform based on the 10 minutes that I've been standing around up front? I think that kind of goes unsaid.
Yeah, and Mark, go ahead, Alan.
No, and you think about this as Volker mentioned about 2 hours. He was talking about time frames. again, throwing this back to the conversation I had with the guys from Next Up yesterday, the average salesperson has 5.5 hours per day that they're not with a customer. 5.5 hours per day. So I think a couple hours focused on making connections, and not just making connections, building relationships through social media. I think that's a fantastic way to spend your time when you're not with a customer.
Brett, we're going back to you, and I know we're kind of circling the wagon here, but people, if somebody mentioned a minute ago, but I was thinking people, they're getting hit by cars, and they're running into poles looking at their phone. So, I was in Starbucks the other morning, there's like 35 people in line, and I leave my phone in the car on purpose, and I just want to run in and run out. And I was standing in line for like 10 minutes, and I just looked around, and I'm thinking, I wish I had my phone, not to look at it, but the video, 35 zombies looking down at their phone and staring there. And I started to think back, like, man, I wonder what 100 years ago what this would have looked like, But, Brett, so we're obviously in a social world, but Mark has a good point that it's is it mainly about building relationships? And then maybe, I know you weren't in Laura's world, but was Laura really building relationships through YouTube and had friends and people that looked forward to getting some of her messages, and then it was maybe a relationship sell that took place online? Can you weigh in on that a little, Brett?
I just have a little different perspective. Obviously Laura's a very passionate person, and she's a passionate salesperson and probably an A player. And, when I was selling, I felt like I was an A player. One of the things that I learned with evaluating my experiences is that, I automatically assumed everybody could do it like me. And when you start building businesses, you got to build a process that scales amongst every skill set level to be able to execute. And in most of the franchise locations in North America now, your strongest people that are able to close business are your managers. And so you've got to scale that to where you can get the inquiry, and you have to funnel that to your stronger people that get them in. And so, if we have a Laura, we're in good shape. Laura there's no doubt. I don't just bunk her thing that she sold cars on social media. I've done some of that, where I put stuff out there and people have called me on those cars. But I would say if you got to scale it in mass, I think it's more of a lead generation than it is something that we can scale to truly just never talk to the customer and sell something on social media. That's what I believe.
Okay.
Mark, in your article, social selling is nothing more than selling. Let me start over. Social selling is really nothing more than virtual networking. I think we've kind of already agreed about that. But you said, I know there's such a statement that's going to anger some of my peers who believe strongly in the power of social selling. And I don't think, and actually I was just looking at a tweet. Actually, it was Arnold, of all people. He says, social selling is simply the modern day equivalent of picking up the phone book, just more effective. You agree with that?
Yes, yeah, and that's really what it is turning into. It's just, again, we got to make sure that we have people trained so they know how to handle it, know how to use it, so they don't fall back to that person that we described earlier, the person who, wow, email, let's do everything on email, and they went from first to number 8 and ultimately got fired. We just have to train them.
Very, very, very good, Alan. And I know, Alan, I know you're on the show for a lot of other topics, and I know you. And the only thing you've ever surprised me on, and again, you ask me why every time I say this, but without getting to that topic, the whole up system thing is the only thing you've ever surprised me on, and I kind of get the reason why you feel that way. But with regards to what we're talking about here today, then isn't it a training issue, Alan? Isn't it and Arnold, yes, you can drink because we said training, but a training issue, isn't that really what it comes down to? Because what if you have a person that is a great salesperson, they can sell anyway. They can sell over the phone. Say it again.
Yeah, it's all a training issue. Brett, when he was learning how to fly his plane, they trained him. Now, I'm sure that plane would be very dangerous if somebody hadn't trained Brett how to use it. But so it
or if I were flying it.
Absolutely. What's that? Yeah, exactly.
If I were flying it, would
yes. Yeah, of course. It's all about training. That's and that's one of the things that we do is that's one of the things Laura does here is trains our dealers, our clients on how to use social media, but how to do it the right way. But it's not about putting cars on. On Facebook. I get that all the time. I look at my Facebook and I see people polluting my inventory with aged inventory, not to mention their hummus pictures. I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, so that's not what it is. It's building relationships. Yeah, there's many videos where you didn't even see a car, where she was just talking about something that might be of interest to people. So it's not just about putting cars online, but yeah, absolutely. You train your people to do it.
Well,
but you train them to do it the right way, in a way that doesn't embarrass them, the dealership, and their parents.
Well, Alan, and I think maybe we're some of the dealers, and you know, again, Brett has a different perspective, but some of the dealers that may be apprehensive, that may be more easily swayed, but they're apprehensive. You know, we were a digital dealer together, and there's companies that is coming out with like virtual test drives. I mean, now we're taking it to a place where, I mean, I think we're taking the cool effect of technology, and we're trying to replace, you know, this boring, I guess, that we're bored with human relationship. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, I guess that kind of gets lumped into, and then every time you go twice a year to one of these conferences, you're getting inundated with like the coolest and newest deal. Hey, we got a virtual test drive pretty soon. You know, Carvana's delivering here the car to your house. I mean, I think that may be part of the issue there. So are there some versions or some aspects, Alan, of social selling? Let me go to Laura, I guess. Laura, are there some aspects of what's labeled under social selling that you disagree with? I mean, things like that. Is that taking it too far? Are we going to take this too far?
All I can really say about social selling and the evolution is that I think there's still a place for the salesperson. I think there's still a place for, very often, the test drive, the touching, the feeling of a vehicle. Even when I shipped cars, I did find that many times people had gone, or at some point driven the car, whether it was somewhere else, beforehand. So I do kind of see this. I see social selling as an evolution of what Joe Girard did years ago. I see it using today's modern day tools in the most effective way to convert sales. And that's really what I see. So again, I couldn't agree more on the relationship building element of it. And again, I think to Alan's point, we've got to train them because their instinct is not to build relationships. Their instinct is to use social media as a billboard, as an advertising platform, and that's what's not effective. And that's what Mark is seeing people spending whole days doing, that activity just never converts.
And nobody's talking, and I agree with Brett. As far as the retail sales process, it's still, I still strongly believe that people still want to drive these things, and people still buy cars from people. This is just one more way to build relationships. Everybody's on Facebook. Everybody's on YouTube. When's the last time somebody on this panel didn't watch a YouTube video throughout the day? We're all on LinkedIn. And so everybody's on social media. It's just one more way to connect with people. It doesn't replace customers still coming into your dealership and you still meeting and greeting them, taking them for a ride. It doesn't, as much as things change in the automotive industry, I think in a lot of ways they stay the same. This is just one more thing we can take advantage of. What are we talking about? There are still salespeople. If I drive down Frank Lloyd right here in Scottsdale, I'll still see by these dealerships a grand total of 57 salespeople standing outside doing absolutely nothing. What's the argument for that?
Well, I think, Alan, there are people that want to do the whole transaction online. I think that when it first started, it seemed to be like there were more, but that's because they were the early adopters. Now, because of mobile and the access to the internet, the mainstream is now actually on the technology tools as well. And I personally believe that it depends on your socioeconomic area. Busy people will do it all over the internet.
But you've got to be prepared to do it all different ways.
Well, I'm saying which is the way the business has always been. Before the social media came out, that was the consumer reports people that wouldn't come in, that wanted to do everything over the phone, and they wanted to come in and leave, and they got a little more empowered, and there was. It seemed to be that there was more of those folks when the internet came out, but it was just that early adopter crowd, and there everybody's on there, and busy people still don't want to come. But the reality of it is that you can have all the busy customers, and the other 80% of America are the ones that are not. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So 80%. It's still 20/80. But it's just one more way to connect. It's just one more way to build relationships.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yeah.
Quick jump in. When you guys mentioned that through all the exhibitions, digital dealer, etc. New technology comes out, virtual test drives and all this stuff. It's all nice, but we are serving just the purpose, trying to find the silver bullet again. But the problem is in social selling or social relationship building is, number one, authenticity. We need to be that. We need to be ourselves. And we need to not always wait for some technology helping us. Yeah, we need maybe scheduling. We can schedule social tweets, whatever we can do. But it is still a people business. And social media is people business. And so when I'm hearing now virtual testers coming out and you just click the button and make a quick intro video, that's not really what I think is the purpose of our social interaction. We need to be human, and we are trying to find again some technology now chiming in and helping us again, and maybe that's a silver bullet. I think that is always the same repetitive business in our industry, that we are trying to find the silver bullet. And social media is maybe not the silver bullet, but it's a very good engagement tool, as Ellen right now said. It's an engagement tool, a new opportunity, a new road to find a detour to customers' hearts.
Yeah, and we're going to give you guys the opportunity to have some closing remarks here. We're going to have everybody will go down the line, but I want to say this because again, I think we all agree. I mean, even Mark, who wrote the blog, obviously here, that would allude to the fact that he doesn't. I think that I'm going to say this. Maybe start off. This is my opinion. I think that based on what you just said, VJ, that we're always looking for the silver bullet. That's not just social, and that's my beef as a sales trainer. I mean, I've trained salespeople for 20 years. People have worked for me, and salespeople often try to find the shortcut. And I think that what you just said is probably one of the reasons that we may have an issue with it. Not because it doesn't work. It works for Laura because she's a superstar. This guy is great right here next to me. He's one of my top sales guys. And I have others that I trust because I know everything they're going to do, they're going to do it without wasting time. They're there to make money. They're there to succeed. And they're gonna use every single solitary avenue. But then there's the ones though that go, I want to win the lottery. I want to find the shortcut. I want to find the silver bullet. And the silver bullet is busting your freaking butt. The silver bullet is working at all angles. So I think that might be the gulf that separates it. Mark, I'll give you a chance here. Go ahead and give your closing remarks. And by the way, when you're finished, take 90 seconds or so, say whatever you want, and then give our listeners a way they can get a hold of you. I recommend following Mark Hunter on Twitter and on social media. Got some great content on sales in general. So Mark, go ahead and give your closing remarks, and then let our listeners know how they can follow you, and then we'll go down the line.
Great. Hey, social selling, the key word is social. It's a way to create trust. It's a way to create relationships. You got to be trained to know how to use it. To flip the dial, as Laura's been talking about, to make it a sales tool. And that is, again, where we've got to make sure that we're providing our salespeople. We got to provide them with the training so they know how to do that. Because otherwise, they do wind up getting sucked into watching the cat videos. I keep coming back to the cat videos because I can see a lot of people wasting a lot of time. Social selling works to help you expand your network far beyond any reaches of what your dealership can ever get for them. Anyway, hey, if you want to reach out, connect with me. I'm at The Sales Hunter. I got the great last name Hunter, so I had to use it. You can jump out there, follow me on Twitter, The Sales Hunter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place because you know what? I use social selling to create social networks.
Thank you, Mark, for being with us.
Thanks, Mark. Mr. VJ, your final remarks for the day, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so what I want to really emphasize is following. When you have, as a dealership, a team, let's say you have an e-commerce or marketing team, and you're trying you're looking into the options of social selling or how to be more social media active instead to just catch a tweet and the inventory, what Ellen was referring to. Just think it like a squadron member. So, for example, that's a part of my book where I wrote how to find and assemble the right crew. You are the platoon leader. You're the captain. So you cannot do everything yourself. You have to have soldiers. But you have to have different soldiers. You have to have, for example, a guy who is specialized in sniping. You have to have a special guy who is specialized in detonation. So that's how you actually assemble your team. even so you are the leader, you have to give away some control and say, you own it to your employee A. When you are able to do that, you will be my special guy for, that's walk-around videos. There's a guy for Instagram. You're making great photos and make good, snippy comments. That's how you need to assemble a team. So forget about one size fits all. They are all some specialists out there. You just have to find and assemble your crew. That was one of the most quoted chapters for my book, where when people talk about it, it makes sense. So you cannot do it all. You find the specialists, like the dealership, when they found Laura, they had a specialist there and doing an excellent job. So, and when you want to follow me, I'm like, I'll be back kind of guy. It's VJ Nader. Almost like the exterminator.
VJ, say it again. You broke up right in the middle of your
My Twitter handle is @VJNader.
Oh, I did.
Wow.
You know what? Come on, man. That's what I'm talking
There
about. All right,
you
so and we'll definitely have you back.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah, I was waiting all day for that one.
Good
All right, so we'll go to Brett Oob, and Brett, thanks for being with us. I know you're busy, and as everyone else is, and if you can give us your closing remarks, sir.
I mean, just to build on what's said, I don't know how insight the closing remarks would be, other than what I was sitting here thinking is that I was having a discussion with a friend of mine last night. And we were talking about social media, and most people, their social media persona, and I don't know if I can say it on the radio, but I will anyway, is just kind of a bullshit thing they created. And so, when you're trying to create that as a marketer on there, it's the same thing as if you read any other type of media. And so I think that, to think that it's ever going to be where we're going to just sell on any type of platform without having to have customer interaction, customer engagement, I think is a misnomer. And so I think these are great tools. I think that as the market becomes more convoluted and gets harder to get in front of real in-market shoppers, it becomes more and more vital that we train all of our force on how to do this and try to figure out a process to do it. But to say that it's ever going to replace anything, nothing ever replaces hard work and the grind of being in front of somebody.
Well said.
Yes, sir. Mr. Alan Ram.
And again, I don't think that it's going to replace. I think it's an amazing tool that people like Laura realized a while back. And if I was listening to the show right now, I'm just telling you this, and I'll talk to Laura after we get off air, but I'd be more confused than ever about what somebody like Laura did, because I've got, Volker talking about tweets. Laura didn't tweet. Laura didn't, look at cat videos, and it wasn't about putting inventory or walk-around videos online. It was, if you really, and I'm gonna throw a shameless plug out here, and I don't care, you really want to learn how to sell off social media, I'm going for it right now.
Hold on, before you say, hey, Alan, hey, before you say that though, Brett, what did you tell me? Hold on, Alan, before you say that, I'm gonna let you pick right up your stuff where you left off. Brett, what did you and I talk a lot. What did you tell me about dealers and about their desire to be sold, and about the conferences that have no pitch zones and things like that? What did you say?
Oh yeah, no, I'm giving Alan a hard time because I like him. But
what did you say though?
What I said exactly. I said that. People have a desire to be sold. I mean,
people have a desire.
They want you to come in. Dealers, I mean, anybody. They want you to come in, and they want you to figure them out, and they want you to take them down the road to the sale, and they want you to close them. They don't want you to take the package.
Good. Then you're going to love this.
There you go, Alan. Come on, pitch it away, because the dealers that are listening, give us some.
Some of the mischaracterizations of what I've heard here, as far as what people like Laura have done, I think are inaccurate. And if you really want to learn how to do it, learn it from someone who did it. That young lady sold 30 plus cars a month at her dealership doing what we're talking about. So none of it was theory. None of it was, well, it sounds good. And why do we need to specialize? Everybody's on Facebook. Is every one of you guys on LinkedIn? The answer is probably yes. We all check out YouTube. So I think that the beautiful thing about what someone like Laura did is she did it in a way that somebody could replicate. And yes, it is about training. She teaches you how to do it, but it's anybody could do it if they apply themselves to doing it the right way and don't spend any time watching cat videos.
That's going to be the quote of the day. By
I've
the way,
never
Mark.
watched one cat
Hey,
video.
I'll be honest with you. Mark's got. I tell you, I won't mention who it is here. We have 50 employees, and there's just Tommy knows who it is. There's one employee here that I'm sure watches a ton of cat videos. I know he watches YouTube. He was gone one day. YouTube called and wanted to know why our bandwidth, had gone down.
What's going on over there?
But so hey, Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, just the final thing is, if anything, this call has definitely today illuminated the fact that I think we all agree that training is a necessity. These guys, they just don't know how to do it on their own. People don't know how to use social assault cards. So again, that plug, it's so important that everybody goes to socialsellingvt.com and at least checks out what we have to offer in training in this regard, because we're going to cover everything. It's comprehensive. We're going to cover how much time you should be spending on a day, and we're going to give you the best activities that are going to convert to sales and complement everything that all of your top producers are already doing.
And that's Social Selling VT is in Tom, right? VT.com?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Social Selling VT. All right, great. Well, guys, gal, thank you so much for being with us today. I've learned something, and I just want to thank you guys for coming on. Mark, thanks for writing such a great article, and keep them coming. And so thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedule for joining our show today.
Hey, Alan,
Thanks so much.
I'm going to be busy, though. Don't call me and try to fix me after this.
Yeah, good luck on getting Brett on the phone, Alan. If you,
I know exactly how to do it. I'm gonna tweet him. I'm gonna tweet him a cat video.
Put a YouTube video up.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some sort of like secret system that Brett uses that no one knows about that he communicates on, because it's pretty much when he wants to talk to you or wants to, good luck on that. That would be a book to write right there. If you can find a way to get, I think they call that book Veto. Was a very important top officer. You get that guy on the phone, and
it's a wrap.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty. It was a good show, man.
It's, you know what, I think it's done, and I think too there was some clarification needed on some things, but I think it opened up some.
It opened up part two.
Well, it's a lot of dialogue that just, people. It's like anything else. It's new, and I think Laura she was way ahead of the curve on this thing, and now, because I was going to ask the question, well, who trains? Obviously, they Alan and Laura offer training, but who trains if it wasn't in that old school?
Nobody.
Yeah. Well,
nobody. I mean, the problem is Laura didn't start off training. She started off doing it.
No, that's what I'm saying. But who trains? That's what I'm saying. In an average dealership, who do they get besides?
They don't, because they don't.
The problem is there's so many people that are doing it now that it seems like too many people are just shouting and they're flooding social media.
Well, they're trying to replicate something they see without understanding the motive behind it. There's pioneers out there, and to be honest with you, there's hardly no one. Even though we feel like there's a lot because we have them on the show and we run into them, you got to understand the circle that we run in is very small compared to 20,000 dealerships that are franchised in the United States. There's a big pool. We run in a small circle relative to the volume of dealers. So we see a lot, but really that's a small amount. It's a huge void that needs to be filled, but it needs to be filled the right way. But what I see is part two, and I mean that now, getting and crossing over the barrier, not discussing the same issues, now discussing, hey, what does it look like? Because I saw Twitter blow up. I saw a guy saying my 78-year-old
grandma was on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was John Willis. Said my 8-year-old grandmother's is a Facebook pro. I saw people say, Mike the car guy said, he's over in California at Way Ford, I think it is, said, the problem is when dealers or GMs and dealer principals hear social, they immediately think of Facebook crap. That's what he said. Yeah, okay. So there's so much more to it, and Laura didn't get a chance to get into that, but I mean, what she did is used social media. I mean, what's social media, man? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn,
Snapchat, Instagram,
Vine. What else? I mean,
there's new apps coming out every single day for social media. I mean, there's so many different avenues that you can go down.
I'm gonna tell you something. The time when somebody in the auto business learns how to really utilize Periscope to their benefit in selling cars, it's incredible. Anyway, so part two.
That's a good idea. Let's do it now. Okay, and on the show, Mike Cherub, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I thought it was an interesting show. Mikey and I actually talked about a topic like this on our show, Just a Millennial, shameless plug, Tuesdays at 2:30 on the Autotainment Network. No, we talked about it, and honestly, we were just talking about the different strategies, and like I was saying, it seems like so many people saw that this was effective, but never understood how to make it effective for themselves. So they're jumping on the bandwagon, going, "Oh, let me throw a bunch of social media out there, and I'm going to get sales." No, it's not.
You know
how
what?
It works.
This is social selling. What we're doing now, we're not selling our product, but we're building relationships. And you know what? One of the things that Mark said, and we got to get off the air just simply because I got work to do too. But you know what? One of the things that Mark said that I do agree with is that if we rely solely on that, then guess what we do? If we rely solely on that, then we starve. If we rely solely on it, because here's the deal. If I relied solely on what I've sold, a business that we've accomplished, relationships that we built through the show, through other forms of social networking, and you know, come on, we go out of business, right? Because it's a slow grind. But today, we're getting business off of the relationships that we built, and that's called social networking, social relationships, social selling. That's really what it's all about, in my opinion. And I totally agree with that. And we don't talk about our program, but when you build a relationship with someone and they meet you and they go, hey, you know what do you do exactly? You know, so what's your program do? I see it out there and I want to talk to you about it.
Social selling. So if nothing else, it opens up the conversation to be able to be sold. Half the battle of somebody being sold is just literally getting that attention, getting the open, a door being opened.
Well, one of the things that we haven't even talked about, maybe we need to bring this back. Make sure, Mike, we do part 2. Here's a good point: is you have to have an audience. You have to have some sort of audience.
Exactly.
I mean, how can you sell over Twitter, or how can you have a relationship that is sold over Twitter if you don't have an audience over Twitter? Or how can you sell if you don't have an audience? I think so. It takes time to build an audience. How do you build an audience? You don't do it by selling at them. You do it by building a relationship.
I don't remember who it was on the panel. They said it's pulling. It's not pushing. It's not push selling. It's pulling, which I think that's pretty good.
Arnold actually said it best: learn one social network and get great at it instead of trying to manage and learn them all at once.
I agree.
Pretty much stay in your social lane. Learn which one you're good at and stick to it.
He's really good at Twitter.
Yeah, he is.
So, hey, real quick, I don't know who's in the lead. Make sure you text Okendo out there and tell him to let us know who's in the lead. We're going to end this thing in 20 minutes, 5 o'clock Eastern time. These are the Grant Cardone socks. These things are pretty cool, man. Got sell or be sold. These are awesome. Who doesn't want a set of socks, man? There's 6 pair in here. These are the Grant Cardone like ballin' socks. We're going to give them out to the tweeter leader today. There's still time to win. It's not based on how many followers you have. It's an algorithm that's used through a program that we use that tells us who the top influencers are. So get your audience to retweet you. Even if they're not listening, it helps you, and we're going to give these out. You must use 2 hashtags. Okay, we got 19 minutes to go, so get on it. And we're going to release at this point, we'll release who's in the lead. And in 19 minutes, Mike, make sure the winner gets sent out right at 5 o'clock on the Misters. All right, so here we go. Hashtag Auto Dealer Live and hashtag social selling. Hashtag Auto Dealer Live and hashtag social selling.
Alan Ram tagged Greta Hoop on this. It's a YouTube video. It's cats.
By the way, Autotainment alert.
It's actually pretty amusing.
Autotainment alert. If you missed any shows today or Tuesday, they are downloadable podcasts on iTunes, and they are available 24/7 on demand on autotainmentnetwork.com. Check it out. There are some crazy good shows.
Well,
yes, there
crazy.
are.
What the heck?
Hey, we got to get off the air. It's been. I got work to do.
I'm stuck watching cat videos.
Peace out.
Social media's working. Social selling's working on me.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Now you're watching cat videos.
God bless you. Good night.